Hi, I'm Ryan from Ryan's Comics. I'm here with Adrian Murphy. We're gonna be talking about some comics and the culture a little bit. My shop, Comic Con. We both went to Comic Con. It was pretty cool. So yeah, we're in for a nice little conversation. So stay tuned and you'll see what we're gonna talk about.
Hi everybody, I'm Adrian. I'm here with my friend Ryan in his beautiful establishment. I've known Ryan for about 2 years now. I've been chilling in here for the last 2 hours, and we've been talking about comics and just the culture and just kind of geeking out on our knowledge. And it's a great thing to have these conversations with people. And I'm just coming at it strictly from as a fan and no personal gain. And I know that Ryan has a love for this, because if you look at this place, it's an awesome spectacle of just comics and collectibles, and it's an awesome location, just a great atmosphere just being here. Me and Ryan had an experience at Comic-Con recently, and I thought it would be good for us to get together and kind of share what we thought about it and Comic-Con experiences and just experiences in this culture, comic life, period.
And here we are.
And here we are.
So me and Adrian here, we went to Comic Con and he got me into Hall H, and I was pretty excited. And he snuck us in, and we had a really good time. We got second row. We got to see a lot of cool things. But Comic Con as a whole, it's a beast. There's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of no matter who you are, no matter what you do, there's no way that you're gonna see everything. Like it's not gonna happen. So there's three things that I really want to touch on what you want to do at Comic Con. One of the first things I think you should do is you need to have fun. People go, they stress out about everything, how much money they're spending, where they're staying, what they're gonna eat for lunch.
I like to call Comic-Con a marathon, dude. Especially if you really want to have fun.
Yeah.
It starts at 3 o'clock in the morning and ends probably around like 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah, for sure.
If you really want to experience Comic-Con at its fullest. I mean, it's an awesome thing.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Another thing when you're at Comic-Con is there's a lot of small press guys. There's a lot of guys trying to create, stories and projects and do things, and you don't know their journey. You don't know where they went. You don't know what they had to do to get there. And I think they get overlooked a lot. Go over to that area, it's completely bare. Everyone's over playing PlayStation 4, Xbox One, which is fine, which is cool. It's a great experience. But these guys are, the future of comics. So I like to go over there and, buy one or two of their books, see what they have to say, see if I like their stuff, grab a flyer, check their stuff out online. For me, I think that's important. What do you think?
Well, yes, I do, because you can get a lot of original artwork there. You can wait in line, and if you buy your books, you can get sketch drawings on your books if you want to. Because and for new artists, what perfect venue other than Comic-Con, because everybody's there. Exactly. And it is a hard business. I mean I do some writing on my own, but nothing professionally, and I just think it takes a lot of guts just to get out there. And most of those guys have to pay for those booths,
exactly.
Right? Yeah,
exactly.
So yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. If we love this culture and this medium, that we should support the small artists. I kind of even look at it like with music. I don't even buy bootleg music. I'd rather buy an album for the artwork and just for the effort that people put into it, and I kind of associate that with comics.
And my number one thing about Comic-Con, I think, is meeting the creators. And I'm not talking about the creators that we're talking about. I'm talking about the DC guys, the Marvel guys, the Image guys. Yeah. These are the guys that we're investing our money in over the year. And this is the time I think that we should try to meet these guys. We should try to see, is this who I think it is? And should I keep supporting them based on their other works? See what else they're coming out with. If they're artists, get something sketched by them. You already buy the books, try to get something else nice. It's a great chance to put a face to the name. And I think besides Comic-Con, there's not really a chance to do that to get all these guys in one spot.
How many years have you been going to Comic-Con?
This year was my 12th year.
Wow. Yeah. Your actual 12th year, every year consecutive?
12 years in a row, yes.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I'd say I've been going off and on since 92, consecutively since 2007.
Okay.
So it is an experience, and it's better for me to navigate Comic-Con and really experience everything that you want to experience. If you love movies, comics, and every other culture, you got to get into Hall H first. Because that's where they do a lot of, if you're, the movies is generating billions and billions of dollars. So they put a lot of effort into getting a lot of people in there for entertainment. I mean, we were there. That it was amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, what stood out for you? I mean,
for me, I think it was definitely the RoboCop panel. That was really cool. Samuel Jackson, Michael Keaton came out.
Yeah.
Michael Keaton is just a whole personality himself. Samuel Jackson. You can't say anything more than that.
Sam is hardcore. However you perceive Samuel, even on movies, he's like that. Like, his personality is just like that.
And it was cool because Michael Keaton's playing a billionaire in the movie, and he was talking about him being Batman at one time.
That kind of
what he pulled from Bruce Wayne and brought to the movie.
Because people still respect Michael Keaton's version.
He's one of the greats. Tim Burton did a great job.
Even though he's aged, I hate to say it, but he's aged pretty bad.
Yeah, he did.
He looks like bat leather.
Yeah, bat leather. That's good. But RoboCop looked really good. It looks the reboot looks promising, and I hope they do more movies of the same concept after this. I can already tell it's going to be a great movie.
I like how the director during that panel, he kept touching on the fact that we actually have drones concepts in reality today policing overseas.
He was very passionate about it being a reality.
He repeated it over and over, and he says that could become a reality for us here.
He made me think that RoboCop was around the corner in real life. Yes.
In real life,
yes,
science fiction is now science fact on a lot of things.
Yes.
So that concept of him enforcing it was good.
And then another good one was Kick-Ass 2.
Kick-Ass 2, but awesome was Simon Pegg.
Oh, The World's End.
The World's End.
Yes.
Did that not set the tone? Like they were so.
Those guys were probably the funniest human beings in real life ever. I could not stop laughing. Chris Hardwick was the moderator. It was a funny panel. I didn't even know anything about the movie, but now seeing the trailer and them talking about it and how much fun
and
they
the
had
passion that they put into it,
the passion,
and the way that they got along with each other was just super.
So I can see that translating to screen very well. What was another movie that we saw?
Vin Diesel stood out for me.
Oh, Vin Diesel. Oh man, that guy.
For Riddick.
I think a lot of people underestimate his acting ability.
Yeah.
We were talking about that before. He is probably the most humble human being as far as like popular, famous guys go.
And he's a nerd too.
Yeah, he's a nerd. Everyone's like, oh, he's not nerdy enough to play a superhero. He's not supposed to be normal. This guy plays D&D to this day.
Yeah.
He was talking about Dungeons and Dragons.
He was talking about how Dungeons and Dragons shaped his
acting abilities.
His acting abilities, and he would be in uniform. He would be dressed up. Can you imagine seeing? But can you imagine seeing him dressed up Dungeons?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
What is it? Torino was his name. Vincent Torino.
Yeah.
But the thing about him is that, like I said, he's underrated as an actor because the person who was on stage, that humble, it seemed like a really good-hearted, caring person. Mm-hmm. The personality that he portrays on screen are too, like, you totally underestimate because you don't associate that person with that. Even the screen makes, the screen makes everybody look bigger.
Right.
His personality, I don't associate with the person who was talking.
I
agree.
Was
very, very gracious and
it got me excited for the next Riddick movie.
Yeah.
They show some cool footage, and I'm excited to see what's.
Was it the first? Were the monsters in that one the same ones from Pitch Black?
I think so. Yeah, and I think they talked about that too. So
because I wasn't clear on that one.
They
were kind of
that.
vague. Our Hall H experience ended with Spider-Man, right?
Yes.
And it was cool because
Andrew Garfield came out as
Spider-Man. So the first half of it, he was in Spider-Man.
And he played his character so well.
Yeah.
And it was the best part, I think, for me, was I don't think the other guys knew that Andrew Garfield was going to come out as Spider-Man. Because Jamie Foxx is sitting next to him.
Yeah.
Like, is this the real Spider-Man? Is this the real Spider-Man?
Jamie Foxx thought it was just some jobber. Mm-hmm. But it was really Andrew Garfield. I saw the previous Spider-Man panel where he had first got the role, and that time he came up in a cheesy Spider-Man just homemade. And he was, you know how they do the questions and answers.
Yeah.
He was actually infiltrated in the crowd.
Oh,
that was the first time I saw Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. So it was for me just to have him piggyback and do that whole half of the interview as Spider-Man.
And it was cool because then he came back and he acted like, oh, sorry for being late.
Yeah.
He did the whole thing.
He was totally in person.
He was being Peter Parker on the panel, and nobody else the whole day even went there. Everyone was like, oh, I'm Andrew Lincoln. I play Rick on Walking Dead. I'm a cool guy. But then Andrew Garfield came out and totally had fun with the audience. And that's what I wanted. I don't care about Andrew Garfield. I care about Spider-Man. I care about Peter Parker.
Do you feel that Jamie Foxx was taking the role seriously? Now, Jamie Foxx is an excellent actor. Some people might complain about his range. But I felt pretty good about how he felt about playing Max Dillon.
Well, for me, Jamie Foxx is a comedian. So, first and foremost, he's a comedian.
Yeah? Yes.
So, he's a funny guy.
He's a funny guy.
So, when he was talking about everything, and, he made the thing, he's like, I might be the first black guy ever with a comb over, because he has a comb over as Max Dillon in the movie. Just like little things like that. So, I think, even from the footage we watched, he looked excellent on screen.
Yeah, he did.
And anyone that says anything about him not looking good as Electro,
it's the ultimate Electro, though.
It doesn't matter. He looks amazing on the screen.
Yeah,
he was floating above the city and blasting people with his electricity. I'm like, that is a bad guy.
And how they're gonna have him use his power set.
Yes.
And how they're gonna match Spider-Man against a power set.
Mm-hmm.
We only see that as comic book nerds in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
You even in the Sam Raimi incarnations, you never really saw Spider-Man go outside of his punching.
Because he had Green Goblin, all physical attacks.
All physical.
Doc Ock, all physical attacks. Venom and Sandman, all physical.
Now you're going to see the scientific, I would assume, I mean, I haven't read the script, but you would
we saw the eel, he fell into the eel pit.
Yeah.
And, that's how he got
But I'm saying how Spider-Man is going to deal with him. You're going to see the more scientific.
Mm-hmm. And we saw that in the first one, too. We saw him use science more.
Yeah.
And I think this movie, and then the director also was talking about how they're going to be going into more of him having fun as Spider-Man early in the movie. Mm-hmm. And people are really excited about Paul Giamatti being the Rhino, but they even explained that his role is going to be very, very minor.
Yeah. It's just the characters,
It's just the character. Rhino. I don't think the actual Rhino is going to be in it.
But I like this version of Spider-Man more than the Raimi.
And that's why I like the director and producer were talking about that they wanted to create a fun movie. And that's what they're doing.
And do you feel it hits all points?
Yeah. I think the first Spider-Man movie, the Amazing Spider-Man movie that just came out, or the one before, I think that one hit closer to home with the story than any other comic book movie ever.
Yes.
And if you want to argue that, you can, but from point to point, plot at all,
it's an original. To me, it was a truer interpretation of. Would you say it was the Ultimate Spider-Man, or was it?
It's Amazing Spider-Man.
It's Amazing Spider-Man, right?
Gwen Stacy, they brought her in. And they, made him his girlfriend early on, and that's his love. And they haven't even introduced Mary Jane, just like they didn't introduce Mary Jane for a while.
And that was a major sticking point for me for the Sam Raimi version.
Mm-hmm. And she wasn't a supermodel either, so.
She wasn't a very good looker. Yeah. What's her name? Kristen Dunst.
Yeah.
Not
I won't even go into that.
All right. First, for me, approaching it as a fan, me and Ryan have talked about collecting and what key books and what brought you really, what was your first comic that really was like, this is something that you're patterning your life after right now. What was it?
Well, my dad started me off on a few, basic comics. It was Conan the Barbarian was a big influence in the beginning, but he got me a DVD, CD, whatever you want to call it, of the Amazing Spider-Man. And
which one? The 60s or the?
It was the first 300 issues in a CD. So you can go on TV. You can go on your I played it on my PlayStation. You can go on there and you can basically panel by panel, and you could read the whole
thing. It was like a digital comic of the first 300.
Yes, it was an early version of digital comics.
Ah, that's cool.
This, I got that maybe when I was 13 or 14. But it was the first 300 issues, and I read every single one. And the thing with Spider-Man for me was, when I was growing up, when I was 13, you know, you're trying to find your way into, you know, you're in junior high, you're about to make your way into high school, you know, girls and all that good stuff. And I saw Spider-Man going through the same exact thing. Going from high school to
realism and just the portrayal of his young angst.
Exactly.
You know.
So I could connect with the character, and you know, it wasn't. And for me, he wasn't a mainstream character. He wasn't. I didn't see Spider-Man as this huge character as we all know him, you know, today and as throughout the years. To me, this was a new thing, and I didn't understand it really. But for me, I was like, this is me on paper. Yeah. And so I couldn't wait, and then we started, and then the Ultimate Universe came out in 2001, and that's when I lost it. That's when my whole collecting thing started, because there's the Ultimate Universe, and you know, Spider-Man in Ultimate Universe was me. He was in high school now. I just started high school. He has his first girlfriend. I had my first girlfriend.
Yeah.
I was like, once again, they found how to write me into a comic book. So every time I got a new issue, I thought I was reading a new chapter of my life.
I love that first Ultimate run of Spider-Man. Now, I can't say that I'm very happy with where it's ended up right now.
Yeah.
But that first Ultimate run of Spider-Man and that take on it was good. And I think I actually slept on it because I was collecting at that time. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I know it was a good starting point for a lot of people, especially, you know, me and you have a little bit of an age gap. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're still vibrant. You know, with that age gap, your time frame of when you got into it is gonna very much differ from where I did it. Like for me, I think as a collector, I didn't get into it until just an experience of finding comics at a burned down comic book store, and I found some really good key comics that had some damage to them, but that was the collecting part. Before that, it was just all, my grandmother would buy me a book and I would kind of like act out the image. Like I would look at some of the artwork and I would act out some of the scenes, you know, because it was mainly a visual medium for me before it was a reading. And then when collecting, the reading came.
And I think that's why comics are, you know, really good for the culture and for kids and everything, because it doesn't matter where you're from, it doesn't matter your background, it doesn't matter how old you are. There's something out there that you can connect with.
100%.
And there's always something coming out where, hey, this is a great concept, this is a great idea. And even people that say, oh, comics are my thing. Comics aren't your thing because you haven't tried it yet. You haven't read a good story yet.
It's an inclusive culture. I mean, just think of everybody that comes in out of here. And like, for instance, you know, there's a lot of degrees of what we would consider intelligence, or what people might say are nerds or whatever like that. But like, seriously, I can have a conversation with people who are nerds, and they are nerds, and they might be in comic books, but everything else about their life is totally different than mine. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you can find common ground.
And we can find common ground because we're both fans of either a story arc, and then that changes your whole relationship. And people start to look at you differently. And especially, you know, we're both people of color. It's hard for sometimes the people even to take it seriously. You know what I'm saying? And those opportunities of meeting people who you might not socially interact with other than comic books is a good opportunity for you. You know, and
especially social standing. You know, there's, you know, people are definitely in different social standings. You know, coming into the store, but like you said, they can find common ground. So, and that's the way I've designed the shop. Is so when you come in here, it doesn't matter where you're coming from. You can connect with something in here. You know, you can find something that you say, hey, oh, I've seen that, or hey, you know, I know about that, and you know, I just think comics overall is good. And you know, I saw this preview of this documentary that's coming out. But they're doing a documentary on how comic books are implemented into our culture, and we don't even know it. And it's gonna be a really good documentary because I can already see it now about them showing facts and statistics about how big it is in our culture, and we can't even fathom it at this point.
What I like about it, I mean, we're talking about comics, but we're talking about comics as a base. If you look at it for a medium, just look at going to the movies. If you go to the movies anytime during the summer, the biggest movie of that summer is going to be something that people like us have known about for years. You know what I'm saying? Where sometimes I hate to say it, but we're the sheep
I love it too because people come in to talk to me. Did you hear about the new Captain America movie coming out?
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah.
We've known about it for. I'm already 15 years ahead of it. You know that is.
I knew about it before the first Captain America movie came out.
Exactly. It is awesome that way. And I've been around a lot of different stores, and I love this one because of your aesthetics. I mean, you walk in here and you're bombarded with a lot of imagery of, especially if it's a medium that you love. But even if you were just to walk in here willy-nilly off the street, how could you not be interested in this? You know what I'm saying? Growing up, did you ever feel embarrassed about a love for comic books?
Absolutely. You know, I was into Yu-Gi-Oh as well. Yu-Gi-Oh and Spider-Man.
Yeah.
You know, obviously isn't gonna win you the popularity contest in school. But my friends, you know, they never really showed interest in it, so it never really came up, and so it wasn't too hard. And as I got older, I saw, you know, people actually start to respect it a little bit more.
Yeah.
When I got into college, you know, my college friends would come over to my apartment. They would see my collection, and their interest would be completely piqued. And like, why do you collect these? And how much are they worth? And what's going on? And tell me about this. And it's just funny because when you're younger, we're trying so hard to be accepted. When at the end of the day, you know, it's just a story. And you know, the biggest thing about this too is that storytelling's been going on since the caveman era.
Yeah.
They've been drawing pictures on walls forever.
Yeah.
They've been telling stories. That's how we communicate. And as far as comic books go, there's nothing that touches it as far as storytelling.
Nothing.
You know, there's books that they say Lord of the Rings, you know, Harry Potter, whatever you want to talk about, whatever you want to say is a great book
I've
series.
covered it all in comic books.
But with that said, Lord of the Rings, it's only 3 books. And it's a one-time thing.
Yeah.
One guy, one-time thing, and it's still huge, and it's still great, and it's still awesome.
Yeah.
Superman's 1938. It's 75 years of DC storytelling.
Sure, yeah.
And it's a whole universe. Everything's connected. It's every month for 75 years. And I'm not trying to take anything away from these great novels, but that says a lot for media. No other media even comes close to it.
I think comic books, or just even this culture in general, not just comic books, but you said Yu-Gi-Oh! and
Magic the Gathering.
Anything that sparks the imagination can't hurt you. You know what I'm saying?
It's a safe environment. Parents come in all the time,
and they feel good about it.
They feel really good, and they don't feel bad about leaving their kids, and they come in and they're like, hey, is it okay if Billy, you know, I'm like, absolutely. Yeah. This is the one place that he can't get in trouble. We're playing cards, we're watching cartoons, we're hanging out, and that's the environment. That's why we have the TVs in here, so you can come and watch cartoons while you're playing games. We want to keep the environment live, and that's really good.
Yeah, for me, just your location for me here is very ideal. I mean, for me, Southern California wouldn't be Southern California if you didn't have the 15 right there off the 15.
Right.
So it's very easy to get here. It's a very aesthetically modern shop, and I'd say your area coverage anything from the 78 to the 91. As far as bringing people in here and just to get them to take a look at it, I would recommend Ryan's Comics over anybody within that area.
Well, for me, you know, when I opened the store, we had, you know, me and my dad opened the store together, and we had nowhere to go. We had nowhere to shop. We tried other shops, tried local places. We couldn't get what we wanted out of the comic store. And so when we opened, I wanted to make sure that everything that I embodied in this shop was everything that it was the opposite of everything I disliked about every other store I went to.
Yeah.
So that's why we do free bags and boards. That's what, you know, because the free bags and boards thing, if you buy a comic, a bag and board should come with it. The bag and board is just part of the comic as the art, art and writing itself. And, you know, I hate when I go to a place and they're like 10 cents. For me, that's a petty thing. Why do that?
Yeah.
This is a part of, it's an experience. Let's keep it going.
I agree with that 100%.
You know, so, and then, you know, we have the TVs here. I like to keep the cartoons on. I like to keep little advertisements on, little, you know, tidbits, because when you come in, you don't want to walk into a dead store. You don't want to walk in and it's the creepy guy behind the counter. Yeah. You know,
smells like mold. Smells like old comics.
He has a little box TV behind the counter, and he's watching, you know, a 1970s TV show but it's faced away from you, so you can't watch it with him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and he acts like he has a pot of gold in the back of his shop, and you can't get to it. You know, and it's super unorganized, and so we try to do everything. You know,
this is Disneyland.
Yeah.
Right. This is.
I try to make it that way. I try to, you know, all our graphic novels are face out, so when you walk up, you don't have to read the little writing and hope. You know, you can see the picture, you can see what's going on. You know, they say don't judge a book by its cover, but these aren't books; they're comics.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna judge the heck out of a comic book by its cover.
If you love comics and you're a comic collector, like you said, if you're in a wasteland where you just have to go to a store that just sells them, you're happy to get your comics, but you want to walk into a place and say, man, I always want to buy from here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's just for, I mean, we have a love for it, so, and I appreciate your love for it and what you're doing here and what you're doing on the outside. I mean, we've talked for a couple of hours, and hell, nobody really impresses me very much, but I am very impressed with Ryan Haggerty.
Well, thank you, sir.
And his drive and ambition in this. Very, very, very good stuff.
Yeah, so you know, like I said, the biggest thing for me is to make the comic shop experience good, because they're going to digital. People are buying more digital, which is fine. I embrace that part.
I would never do it.
I you know, analog is the way that I couldn't go the other way either. But as long as people are reading comics, I'm excited.
Yes.
So if you're telling me you're reading digital, cool. But guess what? You can come down and read for free at my shop.
Yeah.
So you can spend the $2.99 or whatever online, but you can just come down here and read it for free. And that's the other thing, our open reading policy. And I love pushing that on people. You can come in the shop and you can read whatever you want, anytime you want, for free.
That's dope.
And you know, a lot of comic shops, they say this is not a library. Well, how the heck I know am I
It
gonna
is
like
a library in a
yeah,
way.
Yeah,
it is.
How am I gonna know I'm gonna like this comic if I can't even read the first few pages?
You're right.
Why am I gonna invest $3 into something I don't know anything about? Especially if I'm a new reader. Especially if I've never even seen a comic book before. You know, I'd rather just give you a free comic book and just say, here, take it home and enjoy it. If you've never read a comic book before, because it's all about just, you know, dipping your toe into the water.
You're gonna give them a comic, give them something that made you.
Exactly.
Even if it's a reprint.
Yeah.
Just say, hey man, read this story right here.
Yeah.
It'll change your world. And it does, and it can.
Yeah. So, you know, I appreciate you coming down
I
today.
appreciate you having me, sir. All right.
And, you know, hopefully we can do something like this again and, you know, keep the information flowing.
Exactly. This is a great avenue to get out good information to the youth and get them inspired into something other than themselves. And that's what it takes.
So Adrian Murphy, Ryan Haggerty, Ryan's Comics, come check us out, ryanscomics.com, and we'll see you in the shop.